Right, let me go back to the big story we're tracking here on DD India News Hour about India's production-linked incentive scheme, which has created jobs in India, has dispersed already nearly $13 billion worth of production-linked incentives to Indian and foreign companies alike. Joining me is senior journalist Shubamoy Bajadi, who joins us from Sri Lanka. Mr. Bajadi, welcome to DD India News Hour. Before we get down to the specifics, we'd like to get a perspective from you about the thought or rationale behind India's production-linked incentive scheme. How and why was it launched?
Well, that's a good point. We have had over several iterations, over several decades, schemes which were meant to basically give a push to production, manufacturing, and we have tried with something like investment allowance, we have tried tax subsidies. It has had mixed results. But the point is that the Indian manufacturing sector, as a percentage of the GDP, is still today at 14%. And that is a very small pie of the total GDP. I mean, the agricultural sector today is actually larger than the manufacturing sector in terms of its contribution to the GDP. Now, that's not a very happy state of affairs because we need to push the manufacturing sector to generate more productive employment, to generate investments, to basically raise the pace of growth of the GDP. So that is why the manufacturing sector, the present government decided that you need to have a incentive scheme that actually incentivizes, which makes it better. That means a scheme that will actually encourage companies to produce more, rather than just to show investments or rather to show some other features. It should be a very simple thing that if you produce more, you get incentives. If you don't produce more, you don't get incentives. So the production-linked incentive scheme is basically meant to do that. And as the numbers have started showing, especially in frontier areas like electronics, chip manufacturing, in lots of other, these production-linked incentives have started showing very impressive results. Yes.
Mr. Bhattacharya, I have a twofold question to you. One, if you could talk a bit more about your assessment of the performance of the PLI scheme over the last several years, number one. And number two, from an industry perspective, and Indian industry feedback in particular, your thoughts on the quick and timely disbursement of the monies as well.
That's the second part of it. The quick disbursement part, I'll come to later.
Sure.
About how the production-linked incentive has done. Well, as I said, that initially, or rather not initially over time, about 13 sectors are part of the production-linked incentive scheme. These sectors were picked up for various reasons, primarily that they were in a good position to show rise in production. Two, they had strong employment linkages. And three, they were significant for the Indian economy.
Right.
That was the rationale on which the PLI scheme was built on for these sectors. Now, when you look at these PLI schemes for these sectors, and as your data would show, and as the recent releases from the Government of India is also showing, some sectors have done, as we just discussed, have done exceptionally well. Electronics, computer, all of these have done extremely well. There are other sectors like textile, where the results have been, it's still a bit way off. We are still not there. Why is it so? Because these sectors have had older production methods. Many of these companies had gone into bankruptcy processes of restructuring. So that took time for those companies to come out. There are several other companies there which are still struggling to set up modern production facilities. So sectors which I would typically say, solar, for instance, has done well. So as you would see, typically the sectors which are frontier sectors in terms of technology, sectors which don't have too much of baggage of the past, those sectors have done well and have done remarkably well and have actually moved on and have found PLI most useful for them. The sectors which have had older production methods, which were there, and they needed to orient themselves to the new demands of the global market, of the Indian market itself, these sectors have had mixed results. They are learning the game, but for them it's taken time. So production linked incentive, as you would find, that the government has also said that it is a scheme with a sunset clause, in the sense that it is not about indefinitely. It will be there in operation for about 5 years on an average for most sectors, and after that it will be stopped. So these companies have to therefore show results from the beginning of that period. So that has required a bit of, as I said, the frontier areas have brought in new capital, the new investment, new ideas, and they have been able to pick up the advantage of PLI very fast. Whereas sectors which typically have had experience of holding themselves, of not having generated adequate returns earlier, have still had problems regrouping themselves to take advantage of the PLI schemes. But we can hope that having seen what's happening with the new sectors and the fact that it's a very viable scheme, they should also be able to come around to take advantage. Yes.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for. I will have to leave it at that. Mr. Bhattacharjee, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.